Hi, I'm Candy from geekmamas.com, and I made custom costumes for many years and owned a costume store. And during that time, I made a lot of Slave Leia costumes. And one of them ended up in the movie Fanboys. Kristen Bell wears my costume in the movie, and I'm going to show you guys how I made that costume. And I'm going to include all the patterns and the tutorials and all the instructions on the blog, so you can download all of those on the blog geekmamas.com. Today we're starting out with the gold plates. I'll do the costume in pieces because there is a lot to it. So we're gonna get started with the bottom plates. On the blog you'll see 3 options for bottom plates. With the original costume that I made, I have one main one that I use for front and back. But later I went back and I redid my patterns to be more movie accurate. So the ones I'm going to use today are the more movie accurate ones. But it works the same way as the original pattern that I have. So with the other one, the front and back plates are the same. With the more accurate one, we have different front and back plates. So what it starts with is the downloading the pattern and printing it out. So I printed out on sticker paper. This whole thing is a sticker. It makes it easy to stick on this. You can also use regular paper and just glue it on. So how I do it with the sticker is I print it out. We're going to start with the front plate and cut around the outside. All right, so I have my front plate. And on the pattern, the blank areas are where it's going to be smooth, and the shaded areas are where there's going to be texture. And I'll show you how I make that texture later too. So what I use for the plates is styrene. This makes a funny noise when you do this. All right, anyway. So anyway, this is styrene. I use it because it's thin and flexible. So what I actually used for the one I made that's in the movie was cardboard and foam, and that bends and creates creases, and I could see right away that it had gotten all bent up from shooting the movie. So this is by Plastruct. This is the one that I use a lot. You can find this stuff at model train companies. I guess they use it in model train building, but I use it for cosplay stuff. It's flexible and lightweight and easy to work with, and you can cut it with scissors. So you take this, and I'm just going to peel off the backing. Remember, you can just cut and glue it too, but when you make a lot of them, it's easier to do it this way. So, and use a card. So the important thing is to get all the bubbles out of it. You don't want any bubbles on your template. Okay, so we got it like this. It's going to be like this for a little while. Next, now we're going to add the dimension to the design. The final design gets painted over with gold spray paint, but first you have to add the relief to it. And we do that with tulip dimensional paint. So what you're going to do is copy this design and just basically draw it out on here. It usually takes about 2 days to do the bottom plate, because first you do the design and then you let it dry, and then you go back in and you fill in where all the relief is. So I'm going to do the design, and then I'll come back probably wearing something different later and do the thing. Just leave your little circles. Don't color those in yet. Okay, I've drawn the interior design, and now I'm going to do a very important part, which is what seals this to the plate. So I'm going to add an outline on that edge. So I want to make sure that I am right on top of where the pattern is. This is what kind of seals it to this styrene. Later we're going to cut around the edges. So now I've got the outside outline done. Okay, now we're going to put the domes in, and what those are googly eyes. So you use googly eyes for a lot of things. All right, so, and I am going to do little kits with the styrene and googly eyes and the pattern on the sticking paper. So check the description for the link where if you want to do this, it's a little DIY kit. So anyway, I got googly eyes. And what I'm going to do is put a big blob of paint. See if you can see like how big of a blob that is. Big blob of paint. And I'm going to drop the googly eye on it and squish it so it squishes up and around. So you just kind of press it down until the paint squishes up and around it, and it creates a little outline. So once you've reached this point with your design, you're going to let it dry, and it's going to be completely dry before you move on to the next point. That way you get the best definition and lines out of your design. All right, so the back plate is done the same way, except for the only difference is how you use the googly eyes. All right, so there are a lot of fine lines in these new plate designs, so if you have a hard time with them, then I do recommend going with my original patterns because they're a lot easier to draw in case you have trouble with all the small lines on this. But anyway, so this is the new back plate. If you're using that one, the domes are a little smaller. So what you're gonna do is cut your googly eye, slip the center piece out, and we're gonna use that. We're gonna make a big blob and put the center piece down on top of that. If you find that it doesn't squish out enough, I didn't do enough of a blob on that one, then you can just sort of fill it in on the outside. Okay, make sure I get a big enough blob over there. Middle googly eye. Okay, so this is what your back plate is gonna look like. Right, and then we're gonna let those dry before we fill in with the texture. All right, I let these dry overnight. You really only need to let them dry a couple hours if you want to get it all done in one day. I just let them dry overnight, so this is what it looks like. So once you let it dry, you can go back and make sure all your lines look nice and straight. And if you need to, this is where you're gonna touch them up and then let it dry again. But if you are ready to go on to the next step, you're going to add the texture to the middle. So for this is where you're gonna use your dimensional paint again. And you're gonna fill in the shaded spots on the template. So, and you're gonna fill them in very goopy, and that's how you make the like hammered metal texture. So I am just going to start with the side here. So I've got it filled in, and then once you've filled it in with a goopy amount of paint, you're gonna go like this. And you're just gonna go like that. I'm not squeezing the bottle, I'm just poking it. you just do little pokies, right? And when you're done, it looks like that. And you're going to do that to all the shaded spots on your pattern here. This is what it looks like after it dries. And you can see it's got like a texture to it. And now you're going to cut it out about that far around the edge. It is all cut out, and the next step is to spray paint it. Okay, you can see I have both of these cut out, and now I'm going to spray paint them. And this is what they look like when they're all done. And the next step is to put Velcro on the back.